All right, we are live and welcome to Rainbow Inspirations. Whether you're watching us today on March 1st or you're watching a recording, we're glad that you're here and we hope that you leave feeling uplifted and inspired by our guest today, Mark Holmes, who I am so excited to meet because Mark lives right in my hood out in Barnardsville, and we didn't even know that until we scheduled this Rainbow Inspiration. So we are just going to launch right in and hear more about you, Mark. We're excited to get to know you. So let's start it with your origins and tell us about where you were born and what kind of community you were raised in.
Sure. Well, I was originally born in Fayetteville, North Carolina, believe it or not, on the eastern
Oh,
part of the country. Usually when I tell people that, they always assume that my dad was in the military at Fort Bragg, but that wasn't the case. He was definitely a farm boy. All of my father's family were all farmers back from the beginning when people settled in that area.
mm-hmm.
And that was one of the great things about coming from a farming family is during the time of me growing up as a kid, I got to spend a lot of time in the farming communities. Didn't do a lot of that type of stuff, didn't go out there and do things specifically, but I had the opportunity to participate in a tobacco, putting tobacco up, tobacco auctions, raising chickens, things like that. So that sort of brought me to where I am now, into a rural area, something I always thought about. But I did grow up in Orlando, Florida, was my primary place from the time I was about 8 years old. And so that's really the area that I felt made me who I am, if you will. And we always called it BD, before Disney. When I was there at 8 years old. And so if you can imagine Orlando, what you know of Orlando today, this big metropolitan city with all kinds of things going on. When I first moved there, it was just a little bit of nothing, where you could literally walk out your door and you'd be smelling orange blossoms. And today,
Wow.
there's not even a commercial orange grove in Orange County where Orlando is. So it's changed a lot in those years. During the time that I was a kid, it was just normal everyday life kind of thing, and my mom and dad, and I played lots of baseball. That's when I first got started with bowling,
Oh, wow.
and did that. My mom got a chance to run us around the practice and, all of those kinds of good things that kids have. But I know one of the questions that most people want to know is about, when you came out and when you realized that you were gay. I pretty much knew all my entire life, but I just didn't understand it. I didn't have any role models. I didn't have any people that I could look at that I could ask questions of. And it's been interesting because of Facebook, I've been able to connect with some of my high school friends and acquaintances. And there was, these folks were gay and they were out and they were doing their thing, but I wasn't involved in any of that stuff,
Huh.
And interestingly enough, when I went off to college, I went to a little private Christian college, no less. I'm wearing my shirt today, St. Andrew's Presbyterian College in Laurinburg, North Carolina.
Cool.
And, no gay life whatsoever as well. I mean, I had no more role models, that kind of thing. But obviously, as getting older and exploring those types of things, I just didn't have an outlet. And it wasn't actually until I got out of college that I really started to acknowledge the fact that I was gay and working towards making that a part of who I really was.
Wow. So you can really get the importance of having the role models and the people
Oh,
who can let you know that there's a path that has, been laid.
that's
Yeah.
correct. That's correct. And that, you were asking the question previously about, coming out to your family and things like that. And what a struggle, that I had personally. And I respect everybody's, path to doing that. And for me, it was just like this, I was doing my thing out in the community in Orlando. And, I just finally said, okay, now's the time. And I'll never forget that day when I
Wow.
called and actually was doing it over the phone. And, both of my parents said they suspected, And I could hear my mother crying in the background and my dad on the other end going, we still love you and all that kind of good stuff. And so that
Oh,
the ultimate acceptance of it was not a negative thing necessarily. But there was still a lot of learning amongst the family, because that would have been in the middle 80s, I guess, when this all occurred. And but I was prepared, I think, myself to say, okay, if my family wasn't going to accept me, I have discovered myself and I'm going to move forward. And luckily, for the most part, it worked out pretty well.
So after you came out, what was the feeling like? Like, did it change kind of how you could be in your own skin? Did it change anything about you coming out to your family or emotionally, energetically?
Well, it's funny because certainly as an individual and out and discovering, what gay life is about, not having any of that experience through, the early part of my life as a high school kid or a college kid, I was ready to go, lots of drinking, lots of partying and, all that kind of good stuff. And of course, it was at the very beginning of the HIV/AIDS period. So we were dealing with all of that, of course, right at the same time. But,
Yeah.
the big part for me was that certainly at the beginning stages of my career in corrections, I don't know if I want to call it homophobic necessarily, but it was definitely the macho type folks and stuff like that. So it was one of those things that I continue to have to internalize my private life and my public life, so I struggled with that for probably another 10 more years of dealing with that part of me and not being able to share that in my job.
Wow, yeah, that I can only imagine the energy it takes to keep yourself in the closet in an area, I mean, it's different, but reminds me of what we talk about in aging and how people who, might live in a residence or receive community services feel like they have to go back in the closet when they're around their service providers because they want to be treated equitably, and it's just complex.
Right.
So the corrections thing is interesting to me, like that's been a part of your career in corrections, and it was a long part of your career. So what interested you in getting involved in that field?
Well, that's a really interesting and fun question because right when I finished with college, I started as a high school teacher, and I did
Okay.
that for around a year. And I worked at SeaWorld in Orlando and bounced
Huh.
around at a couple of jobs. And my mom specifically knew that I didn't really have a really strong direction. And she, I guess, saw a newspaper ad, believe it or not. I don't know if she was looking for me specifically or what, but she asked me about, well, why don't you go check this out? Orange County Corrections. And I'm like looking at her like, what are you talking about? Working in a jail. And I sort of kind of,
Huh.
passed it off the first time, but I went back and saw the ad again, and I just kind of explored it. And I went and applied, and actually got accepted, and was given a date to appear. And it's sort of, I remember hanging my uniform in the back of my pickup behind the seat, and it was just sort of my reminder that in 3 months, whatever the start date was, that I was actually going to do this. I had no clue, what working in a jail was going to be like.
Wow.
That kind of. And I'll never forget that first day walking into the jail going, what have I done? Literally this Orange County jail in Orlando is huge, a humongous place, almost like a small city. And so here it is. I walk in and I'm like, just amazing, in regards to all of the things that were running through my mind, the future in front of me, what I was going to do, the fact that I went to college. Okay, I went to college to work in a jail. I say that all the time today. It's just amazing, But it ended up being a good career in the sense that I got to retire at 30 years to the exact day, 30 years to the exact day, and I was gone. But it's a tough job. There's no doubt about it. I would suggest anybody, if that's something that they're interested in, certainly pursue it because it does give you a lot of options to do. And certainly as a gay man or a gay woman today, it's a lot more accepting and a little bit easier to deal with some of that stuff. But it provided a lot of opportunity for me to do lots of different things. But it does change you. When you're dealing with bad people for 30 years, it definitely will change your perspective of life.
Let's go. Like, I'm so curious, a little like one step deeper there. And I'm curious what was satisfying to you because when you speak about it, it sounds like it was clearly a satisfying career, although challenging. So,
Yes,
talk to
exactly.
me about how you felt satisfied and like you're making a difference in, because
Well,
yeah.
well, the when I say that I was in the corrections, I did start out as a uniformed officer, so I was in that scenario of it. But that was a small part of my career. During my years there, I got to work as one of my favorite positions was a home confinement officer. That's the people that go out in the community and supervise the people that are wearing the monitors. Okay, and if you followed true life crime type stories. Many people remember Casey Anthony, the young woman that ended up murdering her child. I supervised her during the time that she was in on on home confinement. I was the one that saw her every week when she came in to visit. So I mean, I had that type of individual to deal with. But also the other littler things going on with people that were having issues with mental health or personal struggles and things like that. Being able to help these folks and kind of guide them in the right direction. But just as many times as you would help them, they would stab you in the back by not doing the right thing, and just kind of throwing all their progress away and coming back to jail, that kind of thing. But one of the more satisfying things I remember doing was I was a mental health advocate in our mental health court, and being able to actually go to court and to advocate for these folks, to saying, okay, they're doing really well while they're out on home confinement, recommending things for the judge and things like that. So that was a really positive experience that I had.
Wow. So the mental health, I mean, I hear the guiding people and the mental health angle being really meaningful for you to actually advocate for people with mental health challenges. So is there anything else that you want to say about that, like your passion for mental health and where that comes from and why it's important to you?
Well, the part about mental health, homelessness, all of those types of things that we obviously still have going on today, these are things that I experienced in my career from that other aspect. We all know that most of the folks that are, or at least a lot of the homeless folks that are out on the street even today, have mental health issues. Okay, and we also know that probably the primary responsibility in our communities for looking after these folks ends up being in the jail, and we all know that that's not an optimum solution to it. Very expensive. The folks that work in the jail aren't qualified to do that. But in my experience, we did so much of that. And I wish I was younger. After 63 years and being out of the jail environment for 7 years, I'm sort of like, someone else has got to take that on and hopefully make some progress. And it gets a little bit worrisome sometimes because I don't know that we're making enough progress. We're seeing that right in our own community in regards to the homelessness problem here. And, hopefully someone's going to figure it out.
So you're somebody who has to be okay with the duality, both sides, that you can do what you can do, you can be satisfied about this, but at the same time you see the struggles and the strains in the system and the systemic problems
That's right.
around the intersection between mental health and homelessness and crime, and it is complex. Wow. Well, thank you for thanks for being willing to go there. I was very curious, when I saw your email address that had something with cuffs in it. I felt curious about what that was about. So it's just sounds like a very meaningful career. And so after that 30-year career, you retired at the young age of how old?
55.
Wow,
I was 55
55.
when I got to retire. Yeah, that in itself is an amazing opportunity for someone to being able to step away from work if that's what you chose to do. And so it's funny too. The is difficult, you know, as much as what I was telling you about how the job changes you when you're around difficult people for so long. I had a lot of self-reflection whenever I moved up here, and I had to start thinking to myself, I mean, because it was an adjustment. I can't even have someone walk up to me in a parking lot, for example, and for me not automatically to think, okay, what's going to happen? What are they going to do? That kind of thing. So you don't trust people very well, I guess, ultimately is what I was going to say. And so I had to have a lot of reflection about that to say, was it worth it? The fact that I got to retire after 30 years with a pension, it's a nice thing, but how would have my life been different if I'd gone in a different direction? And, looking back, would I have liked to have had that opportunity? And many times I've said yes, okay, that I would have liked to have had a different opportunity, and make me feel differently sometimes about people. But obviously we don't get those choices, and so I just make the best of it that I can.
Yeah. Isn't that a big part of the life path? And I think part of why these rainbow inspirations are really nourishing to me is just to hear the reflections that people have, and as we accept our life for what it is and appreciate the gifts that it brought. Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow. Yeah. So you moved, did you move straight to rural Western North Carolina to Barnardsville, or did you go somewhere else first when you moved to NC?
I surely did. I mean, my husband and I, we spent the last 10 years in Orlando traveling, sort of like a retirement tour, if you will, because we knew we were going to most likely move. And so we were traveling between the Knoxville, Tennessee area, the Boone, North Carolina area, and Asheville. So we sort of kind of visited, and we're making our decisions about where we wanted to go. And Asheville is where it ended up. And actually ended up in Weaverville was where our first house was, and this is in Barnardsville here now is our second house. But we actually had the house purchased before I actually retired. So Jim, my other half,
Oh, wow.
we bought the house unseen, or I bought the house with him out, not actually being able to see the house. That shows you how anxious we were to get going. But he moved up here first with the dogs, and I finished up selling the house back in Orlando, and finishing up all the retirement paperwork. And come January 20th, I was out the door and ready to go, never looking back. And I haven't regretted it one time.
So this is one part of life you will not regret. You will
Not
not
at all.
look back on and say, "Wish you had done this differently." You're
Right.
glad you're here. I know if you're anything like me, gosh, and especially given your field, that your nervous system must have been pretty wound up. And so then you
Yes.
move here and you have no street lights, you have no sirens, you have none of that. Is that helping you to kind of let go and feel
Oh,
more
without a doubt.
relaxed?
Without a doubt. I mean, that's exactly what you were saying is exactly true. I mean, I remember the first couple of nights when I'm there at this house, and it's just completely dark. I mean, where I live right now, you know how that goes. I mean, there's nothing, and even if you hear an airplane fly over your house, you're like, that's odd, sometimes. And so yes, it was a complete um, 180 in regards to the way things were. And it did take a little while to get adjusted to it. And even living in little Asheville area now, as compared to Orlando, it's a big thing. Anything you wanted in Orlando, you were going to be able to get any time of day. You could get it. Here, you have to rethink those kinds of things. Whenever even getting your car worked on, they typically don't work on Saturday or Sunday here. So things like that, but it's something that I enjoy now. It's like, okay, if I can't get it done Monday through Friday, I don't need it that bad. So
Oh, wow. So you've had this chance. I mean, I could just talk to you about that forever, but I want to move on to kind of the chapter you're in now. And so you've pressed reset in your system, and you have really come back out into the community and provided some leadership and care. Tell us about the ways you're creating community in this part of the world.
well, it wasn't. I didn't specifically have that as a goal whenever I first moved here, because I really didn't know what I was going to do. But not long after moving to Orlando, my mom passed, or not to Orlando, to Weaverville, my mom passed, and unexpectedly. And I was having a bit of problem, coming to terms with it. And I took a job with Biltmore for a couple of years. Initially, I took the job just to kind of clear my head. But a good friend of mine from Orlando was always after me, saying, "Well, why don't you start a bowling league
Hmm.
in Asheville?" Because I had been involved in gay bowling in Orlando for many years, and he said, "Why don't you do this?" And I kind of resisted it, but then again, after my mom passed, it was like a way to keep myself focused. And so, in that summer of my first year in 2016, um, with the help of Butch Thompson, you know Butch, of course, and he was my contact with Asheville, and I had the bowling experience and organizing experience. We started a gay bowling league, and from what Butch was telling me, they used to have a gay bowling league in Asheville at one point, but it ended up folding. But I'll never forget that first summer that we started. We had 5 teams of people that most of them never even bowled in any type of organized bowling, much less gay bowling. And the folks over there in Sky Lanes out there in West Asheville, they embraced us, and we started the league over there. It was a really fun season. We got started making friends. That was the other part of it too. Is when we first moved here, we didn't know anybody, absolutely nobody, no one. And I know enough about bowling is that forget about the bowling part of it. It's just a way to meet people, make friends, and so that's how it originally started. But when I started the bowling league too, originally, I wanted to make a mission that instead of just bowling, I wanted to be able to provide a means of giving back to the community as well. And through fundraisers that we do throughout the year, selling 50-50 tickets. If you're familiar with that process where you sell tickets during bowling, half of the money goes to wherever you want it to go, and the other half goes to a jackpot that the bowlers would be able to win. We were able to donate that first season, I think, about $300, I think, to our first check that we gave out. But through the last 6-7 years of doing this bowling league, we've for the last 6 years adopted our nonprofit Loving Food Resources, which is a food pantry here in the Asheville area, and they provide a food pantry and hot meals for those folks in our community that have HIV/AIDS and those who are receiving hospice care. And we've developed a really great relationship with them. This past year specifically, we gave back nearly $5,000 and almost a half a ton of food that we did just in the last year. And it's been something that's been gratifying for me that out of a bowling league, which in itself is great because we have now 2 bowling leagues, 2 nights, 2 locations, 26 teams of gay folks.
Wow.
I call it LGBT and friends and allies. So we have straight folks that bowl with us now, and it's just a great feeling to have all of these folks come together every week. Literally, we bowl 42 weeks a year, and going in, we're getting ready to start our 8th season this summer, and that in itself is just amazing. And I'm so proud of the bowling league itself for what it does, and getting these folks together. I mean, I've had so many people, bowlers, come up to me and just tell me how much they love the bowling league. Okay, how much they love the bowling league, almost sometimes in tears. Sometimes, and a woman
Oh.
last fall, she was just in tears. She says, "I just really had to push myself to get out, and be with folks." And that's such a nice thing. And when I recruit folks, and I spend a lot of time recruiting, the first thing that people will tell me is that I'm a terrible bowler. Okay. And I'm waiting for that response. Okay. Because that's the first thing I'll say is that it has nothing to do with bowling and whether or not you're good or not. You'll get better bowling, just bowling every week. It's about making friends, having a good time, and then being a part of giving back. And those are what ultimately the league is about. And we have a friendly competition and things like that. But the bowling is almost like third in the, if you're counting the things that are important, is probably the least of those top 3 of what it's all about.
Wow, I had no idea. I had no idea that the Asheville Pride Bowling organization, that the league was such a big deal and such a community builder. That is great news. A curiosity that came to me there was about the gender mix of people in the league. Is it really kind of all genders, or do you see that it's more male identified people?
Well, that's a very good question. When we first started the league, there's no doubt that it was geared more towards men, or more men experienced or showed up to participate. And obviously, with me being a man and being new to the community, I really didn't have an outlet necessarily to go out and recruit women, other than just the things that I would get out there. But I always knew that if we were going to be successful, really successful, is we'd have to get the women involved. And that's happened in the last 2 years. Last season was our best season with women participating, and that moved into this new year that we're in now, where we have a very good representation. And also proud to know too that we have a number of trans bowlers that bowl with us now. And again, not having that connection to go out and how to reach those folks, I guess maybe just the community is just now accepting the idea that, hey, this is a real bowling league, and they've been around for a while, and I think they start to feel a little safe and comfortable. And maybe 3 or 4 trans bowlers in both leagues, as a matter of fact. And throughout the 6-7 years, we've had a trans bowler just about every season, I think. And so, yeah, I'm reaching out to everybody. And, even if you're a straight person and you're friendly towards gay people and you want to participate, we welcome you as well. It's my goal to fill up 24 lanes in both houses. I can 48 teams. Once that happens, I'll know that we were a total success. So.
Oh, that really warms my heart to know that
Yes.
this phase that you're in. And at AARP, we have this phrase called "fun with purpose," and I mean, it sounds like that. You're having fun, but you're creating community, and you're giving money to local, places in need. So I just love it, everybody. So if you are watching this now or later, whenever you're watching this, and you want to learn more, you can just search on Facebook for the Asheville Pride Bowling Organization. Is it also on the Blue Ridge Pride page? I wonder if Butch has it on Blue Ridge Pride. I
I'm not
wonder.
sure, and that's one of my definite things that I need to do, is to get more involved with Blue Ridge Pride, and because I know Butch and I know some of the other folks involved, so we need to bring those together. We were part of the Stonewall group, the sporty group there, but that's since fallen apart, and so I think that's the direction we need to go soon with them,
Cool.
work in concert with them.
Great, great. Well, I know that Butch thinks positive, high, sees, holds you in high regard, and he suggested that we meet with you today and share more. So I will give a plug for Blue Ridge Pride, and AARP and I have been connected with Blue Ridge Pride for many years, and this series, Rainbow Inspiration, is part of that effort to tell the stories of people in our community. Let's meet each other. Let's do cool things. Let's go bowling. And what a
Yes.
cool way to celebrate your mom, in a sense.
Well, we bowl, you're exactly right. We bowl Tuesday nights and Wednesday nights. We bowl Tuesday nights over there at Star Lanes. We call that Asheville Pride East on Tuesday nights, and we have Asheville Pride West over on Sky Lanes over in West Asheville on Wednesday nights at 7:00. So invite people to come down and check us out. The Summer League will start in May for 12 weeks. So we will have a new season. We'll be glad to have you come bowl with us.
Come bowl with us in May. Starts new. And so, one way you can help get the word out is you can share this episode. You can just press share on as you're watching this, and it will share to your feed. And you can let more people know about, both Mark's story and the bowling league. That would be wonderful. See, we have one comment, and we just have a great info. Thank you for sharing. So I'll just say thanks to Allison for chiming in there. She said, great info. Thank you for sharing. And let's see, I guess what we want to leave everyone with is some words of inspiration. Mark, what words of inspiration do you have as a reflection of your life for those watching today? No pressure.
Oh, that's right. I think, as we get older and we move to the latter part of our life and stuff like that, it's a time for reflection, and to be thinking of the accomplishments that we made and the things that we wish we had done. But I'm more about living in the moment now, and, enjoying what's going on, and and I do that. I'm just enjoying my life. My husband and I live out here in the country. I can't beat that. But I enjoy my friends as well, and I've made so many great friends since I've been up here. And I put my jail life behind me. That was the old life. I'm in my new life here, and I love it. So, and I want to encourage everyone else to do those type of same type of things, and don't be afraid to give back as well. That's really important. That's gratifying to me.
Mm. Good vibes, Mark. You're spreading the good vibes, and I appreciate the way you've ended us off here today. Thank you for being willing to step up, step out, and be on Rainbow Inspirations. It's not always easy to share your story, and so I really appreciate your courage and creativity and care I can feel coming from you and being here today. And it is 12:31, so we will say adieu, goodbye. Thank you, everyone, for watching today, and join us next month, first Wednesday of every month. We have someone cool and unique for you to meet. Bye for now.